Good afternoon. This is Debra B. Wilson. It's Thursday, the 28th of June, 2018. The time is 1600 hours and 20 minutes, and I'm in Canada. This is the second time I'm doing this podcast. I did it earlier today, and I didn't like the direction the podcast took, so I'm taking a second try at it. The focus of this podcast is a stream of consciousness, and the focus of it is the new leadership, relatively new, it's still new leadership at Sinn Féin, with Mary Lou McDonald being the leader and Michelle O'Neill being the deputy leader. And this took effect February of this year, February 2018. So first I want to go back, and I've mentioned it before, and give you a little bit more about my personal history connected with, and how I connect to Ireland. In the late 1990s, I started traveling to Dublin, and I met someone, at some point I met someone in Dublin. While I was in Dublin, I spent a lot of time, I spent my time doing feminist activism, and got to know the city, the capital city for Ireland, what is called the Republic of Ireland, and generally speaking, got engaged with being a part of the country via my activism. At some point, I met someone, a man, not from Dublin, but I met him in Dublin, and who was from Dundalk. We became engaged, and I moved to Dundalk. Again, this is the tail end of the 90s. During the time I lived in Dundalk, I came to find out that it was an IRA community. Before moving to Dundalk, I didn't know anything. I'm embarrassed to say I didn't know anything about the city. And I didn't know the role the city played in the Troubles. In time, I was going to say I soon found out, but that's not accurate. In time, I began to find out, and the role the town played in the Troubles, Dundalk, was that it was a part of, in part, I want to be as accurate as possible, facilitating and managing the standing down of members of the IRA. I left the town. I left Dundalk under some pretty stressful circumstances. The reason why I left safely was joint efforts by persons from the state, Ireland, and persons from the IRA and other persons that were our friends. Again, trying to be appropriate, and I'm self-censoring. So this leads me, so I explained that, and I'm explaining that so you get a bit of an understanding of my connection to the Troubles and to north of Ireland and south, Ireland south. With that, I want to focus on the two new leaders of Sinn Féin. There are many reasons I'm glad that Mary Lou McDonald and Michelle O'Neill now head Sinn Féin. I think it gives a better opportunity for the political party to continue to rebrand and redefine republicanism. I think it also gives the opportunity, with the two new persons at the helm, to engage with a wider array of people, both in Ireland and north of Ireland. I think both women have less baggage. I think both women have less history. So I think it makes it easier, relatively speaking, for people to approach and construct Sinn Féin for what it is, a political party. I also want to say that I think it's also important that they now have two women at the helm. I don't think I actually don't buy the narrative that women have a particular special gift at nuancing or understanding conflict or how to resolve conflict. I do think that because categorically, globally speaking, women tend to be more marginalized, the gender that is called woman, female, tends to be more marginalized, collectively speaking, than the gender that is called male, man. So I think that coming from, relatively speaking, a different part of the hierarchy can present the potential for a leader to, if she so engages, to understand the world and conflicts in the world and dynamics in the world from a different perspective than the perspective that is called mainstream, which is typically a male perspective. I also think both women are leaders, and I think they're both adept at navigating a very painful history, and that history that is still in the here and now for many people. And I think it's really important that I say Sinn Féin has a lot of baggage, and because of its connections with what was the IRA. And I think that can never be denied or underestimated. So I think these two leaders have a task at hand to continue to show and illustrate and give voice to the fact that Sinn Féin is an autonomous political party that is defining republicanism in a non-militaristic way. I think that's not only important for all parts of Ireland, I think it can be important for engagement with Great Britain and beyond. I don't underestimate for one moment the pain that people still live with today, and that for some people the troubles are not over because of tremendous loss. I also don't underestimate that part of a conflict that has only recently resolved itself, and resolved is in quotes, there's still work to be done. And part of the work to be done is addressing the historical legacy from the Troubles. I think the two leaders at hand are better equipped at handling those legacies as they continue to position Sinn Féin, the political party. I also have to say, I think republicanism it didn't start with Mary Lou McDonald, and it didn't start with Michelle O'Neill, but the republicanism that I saw in Dundalk is not the republicanism that I now see coming out of Sinn Féin. First of all, the republicanism I saw in Dundalk was homophobic, and the republicanism I saw in Dundalk was often racist. I didn't experience racism because at the time I embraced both, I define as Muslim, but I still embrace my Catholicism. But at the time that I was in Dundalk, I defined as a Catholic, and in addition, I was engaged to a local man who, so my identity wasn't Debra V. Wilson, it was literally this man's woman. people that knew my name never referred to me as Debra. Often it was so-and-so's woman. So although while I didn't directly experience racism, I was aware of racist utterances. So one of the changes I believe, to solidify the change and continue the process of change, is that Sinn Féin now, and has for some time, have spaces for people in the LGBT plus community, and that's not seen as contrary to Republicanism, but indeed part of the Republican umbrella. In addition to that, diversity, the continual addressing how the society defines difference, whether it's sectarianism, whether it's orientation, whether it's ethnicity, I think is good for Sinn Féin as a party, and I think it's also good for all parts of Ireland. I'm enthusiastic about Sinn Féin under the leadership of both women. It's not an easy task. I'm going to post some articles where there's much criticism about Sinn Féin, and I don't think that's going to go away for a while. Again, because people still connect Sinn Féin, the party, with what was the paramilitary group, the IRA. And this is the part that I have to inject personal history. One of the reasons I began to realize the community I lived in is I am acutely aware and personally aware of the fact that the then IRA, the people in the community I lived in, I can't speak any further than that, people in the community I lived in and beyond at the time that were still the IRA, community-wide it was difficult not to know the work that was being done to bring in IRA members in the process of standing down. I don't work in Sinn Féin. The only people I know in Sinn Féin, by and large, are people online. I've exchanged some emails or two in my research, and for other reasons I've reached out. It's typically always around research education that I've reached out to people, exchanging conversations on social media. I've done that as well. So my contact with people in Sinn Féin is very limited. I can't categorically say what connections, if any, the organization still, quote unquote, has with the IRA, which no longer exists. But what I can say is historically, factually, that whilst I lived in Dundalk, I am personally aware of the work, the tremendous amount of work, and in saying this, I'm not defending or excusing anything or anybody's behavior in the Troubles. I'm only stating what was clear that was happening in the community. And what was happening in the community was that there were people who then defined as still IRA and were, relatively speaking, in terms of in the military structure, higher than not. There were valiant efforts to end the militarized construct of republicanism. That I saw myself. That I have personal knowledge of. And after saying that, I have to say Sinn Féin, which I construct as an autonomous political party, and I am aware, it's public knowledge, the people who are a part of Sinn Féin, who have acknowledged their past history in the IRA. I have to say that what I saw in Dundalk, it was messy. It was messy. But I saw a paramilitary group, in part, I saw in the process of standing down. I don't think this is going to be an easy task for Sinn Féin, but I'm delighted, and I hope the journey continues for them, the journey of outreach and acknowledging history, not denying history, but living in the present, which is a difficult task of duality, not denying the past, but understanding that you have to negotiate and be in the present. That's quite the task for any organization to do, but that is part of Sinn Féin's task, as well as other parties that were directly impacted and affected by the Troubles. I'm optimistic, and with that optimism, I still acknowledge that there's a tremendous amount of work to do. The work of the Good Friday Agreement, there was what's in paper and the standing down and the putting down of arms by most people, but I'm aware that there's work to do. That signing documents and saying, okay, the Troubles are over, it's more complicated than that. And I think, and I hope, all parties in both Ireland understand that. And again, I'm optimistic, with maybe not even caution, with the realization, realistically optimistic, that the path has to be forward, that things that need to be addressed in the process of facilitating making sound and functional relationships will not be an easy task. But I think with these two people who happen to be women at the helm, it's an opportunity for greater engagement and the ability to, where the opportunities present themselves, to address the duality of their reality, the Sinn Féin as a party, acknowledging the past and how that reverberates in the present, but realizing you have to function in the here and now. So again, stream of consciousness. I had intended several months ago to do this podcast shortly after the start of the Mary Lou McDonald and Michelle O'Neill's new roles in Sinn Féin. But I thought that was a bit premature, and I needed to see how they manage the waters, which are quite trying. So I've posted some articles. I posted a YouTube video from Mary Lou McDonald, and I'm going to post a conference, a summer school I went to in 2010 in Belfast. It was called Hannah's House, and it got together women primarily impacted by the Troubles, but there were women from other conflict areas, and so we were from various parties and experiences and understandings of the Troubles, and it was a wonderful weekend. It was filled with a lot of discussion, a lot of pain, but very edifying, and I thought very productive. So I'm going to post that as well. And then I'll post the link to Sinn Féin, the organization, and I encourage you to learn about Sinn Féin and to also do a little bit of history to get an understanding of the ways in which the party, some of the history behind the ways in which the party is being constructed by some people, and to also look at the ways in which Sinn Féin is responsible, I think, in great part for the redefining of republicanism as a political movement instead of an armed movement. And I think that's extremely important. I think that's all I want to say. There's so much more I could say about Dundalk and what I learned from the situation and watching Sinn Féin as a political party. I do want to acknowledge that I'm aware there are some expressions of militarized republicanism still happening. I do acknowledge that. And so then after saying that, I want to say yet again, I believe that Sinn Féin as a political party seeks to redefine republicanism as a political movement. This is Debra V. Wilson. It's Thursday, the 28th of June, 2018. I'm in Canada, and the time is 1600 hours and 42 minutes, and that's GMT -6. Thank you.